Hello,
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 hello.
hello. Oh, hey. Look at you, Dan. Just popped in here.
I wasn't sure if you want me up here or in the cage.
Oh, you can be up here. You're more than welcome. Hi, Paul.
Hey, sorry, my iPad ran out of juice.
Oh, it's been one of those days for me. So you're good. You're great. T's not here yet. I don't know where she is, but she will be here, I believe. So today we're gonna be going over Todd Mullis's we're just gonna be like discussing his original trial and maybe just doing a little bit of commentary on it. But I'll give you a quick backstory of the case. Todd Mullis was, well, he is, is, um, a farmer from Iowa who got convicted in 2018 of the murder of his wife, Amy Mullis. And Todd never stopped saying that it was an accident that she fell on this corn rake. And his trial was interesting to say the least. It was probably like one of the first cases that really like grabbed a hold of me, where I was just like, what is happening in this case, you know? And so basically, he has been in prison this whole time since then. But he was just recently granted a post-conviction relief hearing. And that was like, I think it concluded last week. And then they have until April 8th until the judge, I think, to get all the paperwork turned in. And then the judge will issue her ruling whether he will get a new trial or not. And so I'm of the opinion that it was an accident and that he's not guilty of murder. And so that's kind of like the backstory, I guess. Oh yeah, and then I was gonna play this cute little video of the Todd supporters made for him, just really quick, and maybe T will get here by the time it's done playing.
Hey Todd, we are rooting for you. This is Anna from Tennessee.
Hey Todd, this is Erica from New York.
Hi Todd, this is Patricia and Glenn from Cairo, Georgia, sending our support.
Todd, what is up, man? Scott Staff from Creed here. Just wanted to let you know we are rooting for you, and you've got the best lawyer in the business. Justice will be served, brother.
Hey Todd, this is Alex from Nashville, and Neville as well.
Hi Todd, this is Amber from Minnesota, and sending positive vibes your way.
Todd, I'm Mark. This is my wife, Leslie.
Hey Todd, this is Hunter Shelton. I'm a criminal defense lawyer in Tennessee.
Hey Todd, looks like the gears are in motion finally.
Hey Todd, this is Lisa from the great state of Texas.
Howdy, Joe and John here from beautiful British Columbia.
Hey Todd, it's Renee from Mitchell, South Dakota.
Hey Todd, this is Will from Tennessee.
Hey Todd, Tanya Johnson, your neighbor to the north in Minnesota. Just wanted to send a note to say we believe in your innocence and we hope you're exonerated soon.
Just wanted to take a few seconds to give you some words of encouragement, although I know that it's not easy to maintain positive, but just trust that things are going to work in your favor and that justice will prevail, and love and prayers to you and your family. And somebody out here is thinking of you, so don't feel like you're alone.
The end is near. Hang in there. Your freedom is going to be soon.
Paul from Virginia. Amazing. Can't wait to see you, man, on the outside.
Hey, Todd, what's going on, man? It's Quentin Aaron from The Blind Side here.
Hey, that was you, huh?
Yeah.
I just noticed that.
I wanted to send my thoughts and prayers to you. I wanted to send some strength to you, some love to you, and let you know to stay strong, bro. We're rooting for you. I'm so sorry about what happened, but you have the best team working for you, and we're all pulling for you, bro. Stay strong. God bless, and I'll see you soon.
Hope you're doing well, man. Stay strong. Keep fighting. We know you're trying to get home to your family. We're just praying for you. Just keep trudging, and we know things are going to work out for you.
Hi, Todd. It's Latricia from back home. Hey, I thought I'd give you a shot of my blues since you never got over here to see them. A lot of positive stuff going on. Sending you my thoughts, prayers. Hope you're home soon. Maybe in time to even plant corn here, since it's been so cold. See you soon, Todd.
We are looking to the Lord to see you fully exonerated.
Just want you to know we've got your back. You've got a great team behind you. We believe in you. We believe in your team. And we wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Hey Todd, how are you? This is Lilo Brancato, aka C from A Bronx Tale. I just wanted to send you some love and support and that you get home to your kids really soon. So sorry that the justice system has failed you, but we are praying to make this wrong or right, and you are in very capable hands. So just stay strong and God bless.
After looking at all the evidence, no, you're innocent. Can't wait for you to get out and them to do the right thing. Hang in there, bro. I'm originally from Manchester, Iowa, so I feel you with those people up there.
We're hoping that your PCR is 100% successful and you will be home soon. The Facebook group now has 2,492 people who support you.
I'm really impressed with your new lawyer, and I'm excited about the post-conviction relief. Good luck.
We're rooting for you, and we hope you make it home to your kids soon.
So that is a cute video. So obviously, like, I wasn't the only one that after seeing this trial was like, hey, something is not right here. Like, he's innocent. And I like went to Facebook and I just like put in Todd Mullis. I don't even know. Like, I was just like looking for somebody to be as outraged as I was because I needed to talk to somebody about it, like after watching the case. And that's how I came across the Todd Mullis is innocent Facebook group, and I joined that in like I probably 2018 because I think I watched the trial like as it happened, and that is where I found Paul at too.
2019.
2019. That could have been 2019. Yeah. Oh, that's when the trial was, huh?
No.
The,
Yeah, I think I joined about the same time. I guess either early 2020 or late 2019. Yeah, for the same reason. Just wanted to learn more about how it possibly, how either how right I was or how wrong I was. And I wanted more information, as much information as I could take in. Better to have 3,000 heads thinking together than one. So.
Dude, I was like, I did not want to see if I was right. I knew I was just like immediately was like, no way, this guy did not do it. Like, it was like so like strong inside of me where I was just like, this is an injustice, like to where like I've watched cases before, but I've never been like so like sure that it was like an injustice. Like whether he's guilty or not, like that trial was not justice in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I didn't start out immediately at innocent. I definitely started out as that trial was a complete scam, and there's no way that anybody, I think it was proven beyond a reasonable doubt in my mind anyway. But I remember I watched a program with Alan Dershowitz a long time ago, it's probably 25 years ago, where he talked about, the American justice system is really an American legal system, and it's really not about justice. It's about the application of the law and the lawyers being able to lawyer their way into a victory in a case, but it's not about justice.
Well, I agree with you, but I also kind of disagree with you in that I think that the cops and the prosecutor in this case genuinely were so blinded and like one track minded that they really thought that Todd had done it. Like they really thought it wasn't an accident. It's not like they were just like trying to win. Like they were sure that he had killed his Amy, and that is so scary to me. Just that like they could have this thought in their head and then like not just be like blinded by that. And people say like, oh, that would have to be a conspiracy, but it wasn't a conspiracy. It was just like, I think the first guy that started it off was the guy that worked in the emergency room and had worked with Amy previously.
Thompson.
Yeah, which every time like somebody testified, I was thinking like, did Amy have an affair with them too? And I was like, don't do that. This is not nice.
Yeah,
but
I didn't get
to
that
see
vibe from
No,
Thompson.
I didn't either, but it was thought in my head.
Yeah, I don't know. I watched Joe Rogan. I think it was 3 days ago. Every few months he has this guy on from the Innocence Project. His name's Josh Dubin. He's a real famous attorney who works for, I forget the name of the center. It's an offshoot to the Innocence Project, and he's working on a case now called the Ohio 4, which I'm not familiar with at all. But he had this guy JD Tomlinson, who's also an attorney, on, and they do this every few months. They come on Rogan and they talk about these crazy cases and how these innocent people are incarcerated and how difficult it is to get them out. And this guy JD Tomlinson, was a prosecutor for the state, and he exonerated 2 people because he found really compelling evidence that they were innocent. And the show with Rogan, he talks about the kind of backlash he got from exonerating 2 people.
Yeah.
Because the state does not want to exonerate anybody. They have significant financial consequences for improperly imprisoning somebody for many years. I don't know if you remember in the Stephen Avery case, he had something like a $35 million lawsuit or $50 million lawsuit against the town, which I believe he won. And I don't know that he ever got a chance to collect any of that money, but there's some significant money and there's jobs on the line for the people that made these mistakes in wrongfully incarcerating people. They have every vested interest in the world to make sure that these people who are in jail never see the light of a courtroom. So at least Todd is getting that PCR luxury, but most people do not have a real shot because the state will never admit that they made a mistake because it's too consequential for them to do so.
Well, and
So
Todd,
the system is rigged.
Todd has like financial means to be able to like fight, but I think the Innocence Project joined his team as well, right?
Yeah, the Innocence Project joined his team.
Yeah, and like
and he doesn't have the financial resources to fight.
Oh, he doesn't?
No. This is his lead attorney has been pro bono. The only non-pro bono parties are some of the experts that they've had to bring in. And even most of those, a lot of the work was pro bono. I think one of the guys testified this last week, the guy who's the criminologist, and I forget what his name is, but they asked him how much he had been paid, and he said not enough. And then he told them that I think he charged them for 10 or 20 hours, and the rest of it, which was like 40 or so more hours, he just did pro bono. So the legal experts who are getting involved, they immediately find out that this is a complete sham, and so they want to dedicate their time to try to get this guy out because everybody knows he's an innocent man.
Yeah, I think it's a very clear case of just like, even if you're not, but I was watching and some people just like refuse to even like hear the other side. They're like, if it's an expert for the defense, then they're bought and paid for. That's it. Their opinion means nothing, And it's like, I don't know. It is hard to like switch your perspective and like, like those pictures where you like either see a fish or a cat or whatever. And if you turn it one way, then you like see the other thing. Yeah. And like, sometimes it's very hard to switch your perspective.
Yeah. I find that most of the people who are in that guilty as hell camp are local Iowans. I don't know why that is. But I find very few who express that view, who either want to talk about any of the new evidence or are not local. I don't know what the reason for that is?
I want to say I think that that like small towns, especially like farm towns like that, like they very much trust their law enforcement. It's like those are like their cornbread like boys, you know? And which like it's a shame because Todd is like he's everything I've seen and like my impression of him is that he's like a hardworking guy. He's a little bit stoic and that came across wrong on the stand, I would say. But like he takes care of his kids, like his son loves him. You can tell his son like I feel so bad for Tristan. Tristan is Todd's he was 13 at the time. Was he 13?
Yep.
Who testified and originally he went and got the truck and then Todd put Amy in the truck like on his lap basically and started off towards the emergency room and ended up pulling over and doing CPR. The ambulance got there and took Amy to the hospital and Todd followed. But Tristan went back to the farm with the police officer and he gave his statement then, which I think is important because Todd didn't really get a chance to put anything in his head first. Like, so the initial things that he was saying to law enforcement, I think are like more valid than any other time when he would be talking to anybody. And he said that he was with his dad the entire time. Like, and so at the trial, they basically like made it sound like Todd had been out of his sight for any amount of time. But originally Tristan had said if he was out of his sight, it was only for like, I think he estimated like a minute and 30 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, I think that was the final conclusion after he had changed his testimony. I think the original testimony was like 15 seconds. And I think a little bit later, after Tristan changed his tune and he said he wasn't exactly sure, I think Jake pinned him down to something like, you know, however long it took to walk into that room, take a sip of water and walk back. And I thought he estimated something in the minute and a half range.
John, I'm not ignoring you. This is Paul Bondy. He's part of the Todd Mullis is Innocent Facebook group that I'm in. And actually don't know too much else about it, but we're just discussing the Todd Mullis case. I know that he has followed it closely, as have I. And so we're not lawyers or like experts in that sense, but I would say that we're knowledgeable on the case.
Yeah.
Is that a fair thing to say about you, Paul?
Yeah, for sure. I've been studying this case for, I guess, 5 years now, a little over 5 years.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just, it's one of those cases that just like really gets to you. Yeah. So Tristan is a part, did he become a part of our group or he just spoke with a couple of our members?
I don't believe he's part of it. I don't think any of the family, I think that'd be too difficult, but I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never spoken to Tristan. I've never seen him on the page, but maybe he has been.
But am I incorrect in saying that Tristan has come forward and said that he was basically like pressured by Amy's dad and their lawyer to say that Todd was out of his sight? Is that correct?
Yeah, in the original PCR, there was a deposition from him, that said that the family attorney had pressured him, saying, look, if you don't stick to this position that we're telling you to stick to, which is that you can't exactly account for how long he was out of your sight, then you could wind up in juvenile detention for the better part of your youth, and then prison after that. And he was scared. That was the general gist of what I saw in the PCR.
Right. Were they saying that because they were like saying that he could be in trouble for like lying about how like seeing his dad or being with his dad the whole time, or were they implying that they would like go after him for the murders?
I assume the former. That
Yeah, probably.
the family was Amy's family is entirely convinced that there is no possibility other than Todd killed her. As far as I know, there's nobody on that side of the family, I might be wrong, who has any questions at all, is open in any way to the evidence.
I found it very interesting that his kid, hi Criminality, welcome.
Hi, you guys. Sorry I'm late.
You're fine. Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you for the invite.
Heck yeah. Criminality has been watching the original trial on her channel, and you guys should go over there and watch it there, and definitely open the chat and read the chat, because that's where all the gold is. And today I couldn't help but laugh when you were like, what did you say about, like, you were like, oh, he's trying not to victim blaming. She was like, she wasn't taking care of her uncle. She was like giving Jerry roadhead or something. I was like,
she
what?
wasn't worried about her family. Like we're having to like watch our mouths to like not victim shame. And he won't even like say like, you know, this woman is telling him that she's out there taking care of her family, but she's meeting up and giving this guy according to his own testimony.
Yeah, that was wild.
That was pretty awkward testimony.
Well, I would like to know if Todd and Jerry ever had another conversation about this once, because you know Todd finds out about the affair before he's arrested.
Dude, I am convinced that Todd genuinely, when he called Jerry's wife and she was like, no, they're not doing anything, and he called back and apologized, he genuinely thought she was not messing around with them, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's certainly no evidence that came out in the original trial, and nothing since that says that he did know. As far as we know, from what the evidence that was presented, what he said was he put it to rest, which is probably not a great way that he said that.
Yeah.
But that's what he said on the stand, is that he didn't know. And then when he was being questioned by Turbot brought up the affair, and Todd referenced something about 5 years ago that happened. He didn't immediately jump to the present as if the affair was just in process. He thought that Turbot was talking about the affair from 5 years ago. So there's really no evidence that I'm aware of that was ever presented that he knew, other than there was he suspected at one point.
A lot of those searches that they presented in trial, correct me if I'm wrong, were from like a year ago, or not a year ago now, but like a year ago before the trial.
Yeah, January 2018.
They were presenting it like it happened right before the murder, or not the murder, the death. I'm gonna call it a death because I don't think it's a murder. Is that correct, T?
Well, it seemed that the very first ones they showed in court were from December of 2017. But they tried to use it like he was planning her murder since December of 2017, which I thought was weird.
It's wild to think it was planned for so many reasons, but like not if you were going to use a corn fork as your weapon of choice for a farm accident, why would you do it multiple times? Like, that would just really blow your whole story.
You're gonna kill her. You live on a pig farm. Why wouldn't you just feed her to the pigs?
Or run over with a tractor, or like so many, like more. And she wasn't even. Was she dead when he was trying to save her life? Why would he try to do that? Like, it's.
Well, you know my opinion. There's no doubt in my mind that he's absolutely factually innocent. That this is just like a freak accident, and I just have no doubt. So it's like weird to me that like. Listen to anybody like who has like some type of like think that he's even somewhat guilty. It makes zero sense that this is a crime at all.
Yeah, I agree.
I understand the people who think he's innocent. I understand the not guilties. I understand the guilties. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. The guilty as hell, I don't get. I just think they can't be good faith actors. There's just no way that you could look at the evidence and say guilty as hell. You could say, hey, yeah, I think he did it. I don't believe that. I think it's pretty obvious that that's not what happened. But at least I can give some credit to a human as, having given it fair thought. But guilty as hell, there's just nothing there to make anybody that confident that he did it. There's enough to make somebody question, especially people that don't know a lot about the case and don't know all the facts. I could see that. But I have very little patience for the guilty as hell folks in the chat. Plenty of patience for anybody who wants to learn more, who's open to new evidence, thinks he's guilty but doesn't quite know because they haven't heard everything. That's fine. But as hell's, no patience.
Well, especially after like the post-conviction trial, I think they did a fabulous. I was so happy to see him actually get some lawyers that like knew his case, because it was so clear on his appeal that lawyer did not know anything about his case, and I think that is what most criminals are dealing with, is a public defender who does not read their case. They look at their chart or their file like right before they walk into the court, and then they just kind of like wing it from there. And like, I honestly think that everybody should be terrified by that like prospect that this is our justice system.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm more scared by that. And Jake actually did do the research. He did read the case. He just was terrible. But I don't know if I'm more scared by that or what a jury of your peers means. If you scroll down in any YouTube video commentary, you'll see what your peers look like.
Yeah.
That's not a
scary.
Very attractive prospect.
It really isn't. It's just so scary. But like also just like the whole peer pressure thing, because like there was a case just recently that was a hung jury, and it was 1 against 11. And I was like thinking of like that one person had to have been like really confident in themselves, because just like to stand against all like your peers or whatever is more difficult than people I think realize.
Yeah, and not be bullied into changing your verdict.
Not even like overtly bullied, but just like the pressure of like and they've done so many psychological studies on this where they do like the lines. There's 3 lines, and one of them's like clearly longer or shorter, and like everybody else in the group is part of the study, and they all say like, oh, they're the same length. And so like the one person just ends up being like, yeah, I guess they're the same length, because they're like thinking like, I must be seeing stuff, They don't have that confidence that like not everybody can be a part of this study. I don't know.
Can you queue up they did an interview with one of the jury members. It's a few years old. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely can.
You might be able to queue that up and see what they say.
I only found it in an article. I didn't find a video of it.
I'm pretty sure I watched the video of it probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
It was a short interview with one of the jurors.
Well, we'll see if we can find it, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be really nice if they did, professional juries, people who are highly educated and competent, who understand how to analyze the materials that are being presented, to a lay person, your peer, to, understand, DNA analysis, crime scene analysis, the biomechanical engineers reports. This is not, that's not everybody doesn't have the intellect to process those things the way you're supposed to process them. So having a professional jury system would be a real benefit, I think.
Aren't there other countries that do have that?
We talked
always advocate against it. No, I think it was what's his name?
Sterling?
The other Discord we're in. No. Yes, but it was Sterling and Sleuthy and I can't remember his Discord. River City podcast guy. He was on there too.
Matt D.
Yep. I always advocate against it because you're going to have state employees when you do that. You're going to get twisted incentives doing that too.
I mean, I guess I could see that too. I could see the negative for that side of it. It's just hard though. Maybe there just needs to be like a criteria for jurors or something. I mean, I don't know if you guys follow the Karen Reed case or not, but to think like there was a jury of 12 that didn't understand that they had to vote on each individual charge.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, not one person sitting in that room knew that each charge was different. Like, how does a layperson not know that? And that's
even
concerning.
the revised jury instructions on that one. Was it that case where it basically said all or nothing, and then she revised it and it still said all or nothing?
Well, that's how they interpreted it, yeah. And so they came back with a hung jury, so she declared a mistrial, but it was actually, they said they had found Karen Reed not guilty on 2 of the 3 charges unanimously. And so now she's being tried again on all 3 charges, when technically those 2 would be double jeopardy if the jury had known that they needed to do it, to vote for each charge individually. So I'm just thinking, like, not one person in there thought, like, I should ask this question.
Yeah, I'll bet if you polled Americans, 75% would not be able to tell you the difference between reasonable doubt and the shadow of a doubt. I'm absolutely convinced that that's true. Just my experience talking to people, they don't know what reasonable doubt means. They think it means shadow of a doubt. And one is like there could be aliens, and one is, that it's reasonable to have some suspicion that it's true. They don't get it.
It's unfortunate.
I cannot find that interview, but I think it might be in like one of these shows that has like, I don't know, bits.
I think it was 48 hours, if I remember the article correctly, that it was a 48 hours interview.
Okay.
So if you see it at 48 hours, check that.
Call Mama said there was an attorney on the Reed's jury too.
Was she?
Which can be good or bad, depends on what type of attorney they are.
But wasn't she an alternate, or am I misremembering that?
I just know if you like a friend of ours is a contract attorney, she doesn't know the rules of evidence like defense attorneys do or prosecutors. So you might be okay having some lawyers on a jury.
Well, I think the majority of lawyers are like a corporate law, like that kind of law.
Yep.
Like not a lot of them are actually criminal attorneys. When you look at like
no money in it.
Attorneys.
And there is obviously sometimes, but most of them don't make a lot of money, especially public defenders.
So can we talk about Hem what is, I can never say his name right, Hemasath?
We absolutely can.
This guy is such a douche nozzle.
I had a couple spots like marked so that we could watch them of what you were going over. Sorry, I just got. I will continue to find that in a moment. Let me see. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
But you could start talking about them, and I could find the other stuff.
I thought I just kind of called them out. I'm being a douche nozzle. But the dude doesn't know what UTC is. He went and sat on that stand like he was so cocky. He's just like, I know everything, and this is what it is. And I got. He said he performed a search warrant. That was number one. I'm like, okay. He performed the search warrant on Todd's Google email. And then he got back all these searches that were attached to Todd's Google email. So he in turn was stating as fact that meant that all those searches took place, number one, on the iPad. And since the iPad was logged into Todd's Gmail, that all of those searches were done by Todd. And that they were done in the middle of the night.
It's
big mistake.
I mean, he's clearly very young, but also just like, not to be like dissing on the dude, but like literally like dumb and just like he really just didn't even care like at all. Like I don't know. It's wild. But yeah, UTC like it's
Like
not
Zulu
the same.
time?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not
Okay.
the same.
Yeah, it's not the same at all.
No. And he didn't know that. And so his response.
If you're on Eastern, it's 4 hours.
I'm hoping you have
us.
this clipped. I hope you have this clipped. So he says, so the prosecutor never calls him out on it. They just keep going with that. And that search was at 3:45 in the morning or whatever. And he's like, yes, it was. And then the defense attorney was like, it's probably the best thing the defense attorney actually did the entire trial. Was actually he's like, sir, are you familiar with like UTC? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, well, what does UTC stand for? And this fucking guy, you're not gonna believe, he goes Central Standard Time.
Yeah.
He said the UTC stands for Central Standard Time. I was like, oh my gosh. And then the defense attorney stays super calm and he's like, okay. He's like, and if you were to check the internet and the internet told you were wrong, would you believe you were wrong? And he goes, well, I don't know. The internet's never told me I was
wrong. I want his internet.
No, but like we're laughing, but like at the same time, it's like, what the actual fudge? Like, you know, like that is it's just I really hope he gets a new trial.
Did they object to it?
No, they didn't object to like anything.
I think that the defense attorney, I think I counted 3 objections the entire time, and that's probably. Yeah, I mean, I'd give him 5 just in case I missed a couple, but
there were 4 total in the first.
There were 4. Yeah, there you go. 4 total.
4 total objections.
4, yeah.
And
2 in the closing argument.
Oh.
Yeah, and that makes you look like shit to the jury when you object during closing.
Yeah, what I didn't like about him is that, like, I'll give everybody the right to make an error, to make a mistake, but to have no contrition about it, to not look at it and say, oh, I had that time zone wrong. That might have changed the way I thought about these searches, that I thought they were happening 1, 2, 3 in the morning, but they were really happening at dinner time. Maybe I should revisit that. And hey, I thought they all had to be made on Todd's iPad, but now we know it could have been on Tristan's phone, Amy's phone, Todd's iPad. Maybe I should revisit that and take a look. I mean, there was no moment where anything that was brought up at this trial, including the number of holes in the coat, the evidence from the biomechanical engineer, the forensic pathologist, when Kelly Cruz had 3.5 months of experience with maybe a few hundred at maximum under her belt. Meanwhile, this new forensic pathologist who has 6,000 under her belt worked for Cyril Wecht, who I think did like the Kennedy assassination autopsy. The guy's like a legend in the industry. There was no moment where they said, hold on, there's a man's life and his family's life at risk here. Let me go look at some of this new stuff and make sure we didn't just put an innocent man in jail for life. Make sure.
I wanted to know what Kelly Cruz, like, if she actually watched the pathologist and the biomechanical engineer, if she watched their testimony, because she testified in the other case, like before they testified, and they had said that I guess it'd be the state that they told her not to talk to their experts. And so, like, I'm wondering if she herself would like actually reconsider her position on it,
There's no chance. It would be, admitting malpractice, which is really why it was so hard to get Jake in there in this trial. For an attorney to come in and say I messed up is the same as, had the officer saying I messed up. They're never going to do it. There's too much money on the line and careers on the line to do it. The system just it's not made for that. It's made for people to dig their heels in because the consequences of being wrong are too dire. Hammerstedt just got sheriff. He doesn't want to lose that.
Oh
the
my
state
gosh,
stands to lose, many, many tens of millions of dollars for a wrongful conviction claim. They're well aware of that.
I'm going to pull up Cruz here. So you guys the audience or whatever can at least know what we're talking about when we're talking about these people. So I'm just going to randomly start it so you guys can get a little vibe of her.
Actual specialty is forensic pathology, which is a subspecialty of pathology.
What is pathology?
Pathology is a subset of medicine where we study injury and disease processes and how those affect the human body.
And how long have you been employed where you're currently employed?
I've been at the state medical examiner since July 2018.
So that is, and she did a good job. She's smart, you could tell. And like the new pathologist, she used all her measurements and stuff like that. So that was good. But what I didn't like is that she doesn't explain how there is 6 holes, even if somebody swung it at her. You know, like she doesn't show how that could have happened either. And so that bothered me from the beginning because I was like, what? Like, she didn't explain like how that could happen, how only like 2 or 3 times. Like, what does that even mean that he hit her 2 or 3 times? You know?
Yeah, if you're going to put somebody in jail for life, at least have a running theory of how the murder happened. At least do that. Even if you don't want to look into how the accident could have happened, at least have some educated, thoughtful way that this could have happened before you do it. And they just spent no time. It was simply, I cannot get my mind around the idea of falling on a rake, getting up, and then falling again. It's an impossibility in her mind, and that was the end. Like, nothing had to be done. She said at the PCR trial that she made up her mind before she even entered the body.
Mm-hmm.
She said she was certain, but yet open, which is obviously an oxymoron. You can't possibly be certain and open at the same time. But she said she was certain before she even opened Amy up.
Yep.
So they just never gave any viable way that they think those wounds could have been made in the course of a murder. And I can't imagine putting somebody away for life without at least taking the effort to do that, especially when what you're being told is something else.
So they didn't even cross-examine her and hound down on that point?
Oh, do you want to see her cross-examination? It'll only take it'll take 1 minute.
Yeah, it's about.
It was 1 minute long?
I don't.
it's
It's
probably
very,
5 minutes.
very short.
I don't have
so
to.
bad.
They didn't do it.
I think you
They
should
didn't do
so
it.
that you.
Well, yeah, the
Wow.
problem is that Jake admitted to murder, so he didn't really have much to question her on.
Not just admitted murder, but he's like brutally murdered. And
Yeah.
when they were beating her, I was like, dude, what is he doing? Stop
Yeah,
it with
butchered.
those words. Like, oh my goodness.
Or in your chest cavities, and that pressure really restricts the function of your heart and your lungs, which are very important organs in your body. So without any sort of therapy to relieve that pressure, death will occur.
Doctor, I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 61. What is this a photograph of?
This is a photograph of the corn rake that was brought to the autopsy suite, and there's a photograph we took of it.
Now, when you were talking about your exam and your belief that Amy was struck 2 or 3 times, you talked about the line. You indicated the line that the puncture wounds were in.
Exactly.
And did you base?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. So in terms of, I didn't do a gross examination of her nails to see if anything was underneath them, but we did do fingernail clippings where we take the top examination process.
Oh my gosh, her voice. I'm sorry. I shouldn't talk about her voice, but I can't help it.
It's tough.
And in this case, what was the manner of death?
Homicide.
Now, Dr. Cruz, could you tell
I
from your
feel like,
exam
I don't mean to interrupt it,
when
but I do feel like she
blunt
probably
force
has
injuries, the one
gotten more intelligent. She seems like she's overly intelligent for her age, even at the time of the trial.
Yeah.
And I feel like she's probably gotten more intelligent, but she had no experience. And so she counted on like Thompson to tell her that this was a murder. And so that's what she was thinking, like, this is a murder and I got to go figure out all the evidence to make it a murder. And now she's got her heels dug in so far that she can't go back and correct herself from when she was younger. because that would be admitting that she did things wrong. And what does that mean for all the other autopsies she's ever done if she admits that she did one wrong at the beginning?
I just feel like both of the defense's witnesses were very compelling and used like kind of like unrefutable like science, like mathematics, and like that she would have to be doubting herself at this point. I don't see how she could not be. I don't know.
I'd be more comfortable if they were like it's undetermined. We can't decide if it's an accident or murder. We don't know. We don't know what it is.
When those injuries, when Amy would have sustained them.
So looking at blunt force injuries when we're trying to determine timing, we look to see if there's any sort of hemorrhage, which is bleeding around those injuries. You're going to have hemorrhage or bleeding when your heart is still pumping. And these all had associated hemorrhage. So I can say it either happened before her death or around the time that she was dying.
Cross-examination.
This guy's like, is Amy dead? Yeah. Okay, no further questions.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Doctor, yesterday,
That's my voice from my live.
he described the process in which when the decision has been made to send the body to the state medical examiner's office, what protocol they go through.
Yes.
And you're familiar with that.
Yes.
One of the things I recall him mentioning is that her hands were bagged. Is that how she arrived at your office?
She did.
And what is the purpose of bagging hands?
So we classically bag hands if we want to maintain any sort of evidence that we think we might need. In cases where we think this might be a homicide or we think having fingernails might be important later on, we suggest bagging the hands. And this contains any DNA or evidence during that transport that potentially lost when they're in the body bag, especially if there's a lot of blood involved.
When Ms. Mullis's body arrived at your office and you began your preparations, did anything that you did there include the examination or the attempt to retrieve evidence or see if any evidence may have existed in her hands, fingernails, that type of thing?
May I refer to my?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. So in terms of, I didn't do a gross examination of her nails to see if anything was underneath them, but we did do fingernail clippings, where we take the top portion of the fingernails with a fingernail clipper and we put the fingernails and the clipper in a sealed evidence bag.
And why is that done?
So if we have concerns of a struggle and we think DNA might have come underneath the victim's fingernails from a struggle, taking fingernails might be useful in the investigative process.
Do you know whether or not the fingernails taken from Ms. Mullis were examined?
I do not.
Did anyone request you or anyone else in your office to do so?
I do not know.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
That was it.
Redirect?
Oh.
Okay, thank
That was it, Dan. I told you. He doesn't ask her anything.
Yeah, she doesn't ask her experience about the toxicology.
Well, I want to know her methodology. I want to get her to make. You want to make her sound stupid in her own words. Like, did you test any of this stuff? Wow. Like, you don't even have to have an expert. You could just go through and have her dissect her own points if she's going to fall short. Wow.
That's literally the cross on all the witnesses. Like, every single witness, he's just like, so, and like, he made a couple good points that like he should have pressed further on like multiple witnesses, and he just doesn't. He's just like, okay.
Maybe he was a good lawyer back in the day. Maybe. Because it's like,
there's no charisma. There's no.
And you come up with something every once in a while. I was like, okay, finally, and then it sinks back down to like nothing. Like he's back to sleep. Like he's taking a nap.
Yeah.
He basically left Todd to defend himself. I mean, he didn't provide any corroborating evidence to support Todd. He just got him up there, asked him questions, and then asked the jury to believe his answers. So when he talked about the internet searches and the hunter safety courses, he didn't say, here's a copy of the test, so you can read for the jury the questions so that you can corroborate that those were the things that he was looking up. He didn't do anything to corroborate. He just said, Todd, I'm going to ask you some questions. You believe it now. They never asked the kids, hey, did you look up buoyancy because you guys were having a chat about who floated better. It just trust Todd. He's going to tell you this. It was mind blowing to me that he left the defense to Todd and not to him to prove that the things he was saying on the stand were accurate.
So T or Paul, is this post-conviction relief only regarding ineffective assistance of counsel, or is it also examining the evidence in general to see if a new trial?
It's two things. It's ineffective assistance of counsel for a new trial, and it's an innocence claim.
Okay, good. I've told Fishy over and over again, anytime that ineffective assistance of counsel thing comes up, it scares the hell out of me because they let so much stuff slide on that.
Yeah, really hard to overcome that burden. I mean,
and I don't know why.
They killed it.
I feel like there's a few examples I can think of that should be.
I mean, 4 objections in this whole trial of just like hearsay nonstop is crazy. But here's Tim's with
nothing
up here.
You need this guy. Everybody knows Karen. She's a witness and a half. Her and her little gossip sessions all over the place. MSAT. Oh, MSAT. Oh.
Can you please tell us who you're employed by?
The Delaware County Sheriff's Office.
And in what capacity?
As a deputy sheriff.
How long have you been a deputy sheriff with?
Dude, T, is this not like the Shane Evans of the this
For
case?
real. How long have you known that Amy was sleeping with Keith?
About 9 years, and in law enforcement for roughly 12 and a half years.
And what are your current duties and titles at the Delaware County Sheriff's Office?
Assigned to investigations.
And what does that mean?
Investigating major crimes such as homicides, burglaries, thefts.
And when you're not in an investigator capacity, are you also sometimes a patrol?
Do you want to watch that whole part, or
Snapchat records?
I don't want to read those stupid comments that are spelled wrong.
Go to the cross. Go to the cross where he doesn't understand what UTC is.
I'm trying. I don't know what it's at, but I'm gonna.
I don't either.
So Mike Mullis had brought that to the farm.
This guy, he doesn't even know the directions of which way the photos were taken that he took. He's like, oh yeah, that's that way. And I'm like, no, it's not. 5 minutes later, he's like, oh, wait a minute. I think that was actually facing this way.
So between 10:14.
Oh, it's right after all this.
12:01. That was our time frame for the homicide.
I'm pretty sure Hammerseth's cross is in a separate video.
I think it's
that,
right here.
this is mine. I think I played them together, but they won't.
Rake that was recovered in this incident.
Yes.
Did you ever perform any type of DNA on that rake?
No.
Why not?
I actually inquired the DCI lab. That's the main lab that we use to test evidence. I inquired about touch DNA evidence. They had advised me that touch DNA evidence they no longer do because of its inconsistencies. And also about latent fingerprints. A type of instrument like that with the texture, there's obtaining latent fingerprints off of a device like that is not possible.
His wife went to Joanna. Yep, you're green now, baby. Let's pass. Wanted it to be a murder, and they wanted an arrest.
Okay, it's right here. The cross. You'll watch the whole cross.
Oh no.
Did you have information that Todd had touched the rake?
Yes, he told us that.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
A lot of the speculation back in the day was that it was the sheriff wanted an arrest. They wanted it to be a murder and they wanted an arrest. The prosecutor was friends with Amy. So I'm like, shut up, yeah, you're green now, baby.
And do some preliminary things, but I think considering time, I'd like to take
Here
a
we go.
break because there's a lot of this stuff with
It's right after that.
focus on so I can be more effective in the cross-examination.
Yeah, that's fine. We can take our morning break at this point in time. Folks, we'll try to keep this to 10 or 15 minutes. Remember the admonition, report back to the jury room. Please be seated.
Well, let's not forget that her first affair we know of, was with one of the sheriff's deputies, Keith. No, Amanda, I think he's absolutely 100% innocent.
Mr. Firehound, whenever you're ready, go right ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Deputy, during your direct testimony, you indicated a couple different times, I think, that you said where the body was. This is where you were told the body was, right?
Yes.
And that was provided ultimately, or the source of that information would have come from probably Tristan, right?
Yes, Tristan told Deputy Luke Thompson, and then Deputy Luke Thompson told me.
All right. And your examination of the shed, we'll keep calling it that, consisted of a walk around, and then you went through and looked for places where someone might have fell and struck their head or left some blood or something like that. Is that how I understood you to say?
Yes.
And you didn't find anything like that?
I just found 2 drops of blood, and that was in the placement where Amy was said to be located.
No footprints in the snow.
That's awful.
If I could ask the state to please pull up Exhibit 111, the aerial. Can I go up there, Your Honor?
Yes, go right ahead.
I want to ask you about those cameras. There was a camera on this bar?
No.
Which one?
South barn.
This one?
Just to north of the loading chute.
In this area?
Yes.
And where was the other camera?
They were both on where your finger was.
Here.
Yep.
Just angled at different angles.
Yes.
And the recording equipment was over either in this area or in the main shop?
Yes.
Okay. And only one of the, well,
they would not state it in this trial. They would not name him. They just kept saying that she did have an affair with somebody that she met at work. And then the friend comes in and testifies and says that the person that she had met at work was somebody who would come in often. They won't tell you, but we do know who it was. But they won't say it here. I don't know if there was some type of pretrial motion that made it so they couldn't say it, but it's weird that they now that his co-workers are investigating her murder 5 years later.
Was this present T or is this past T?
That was past T.
Okay. I'm the inception thing's racking my brain.
That's right, AG. That's right.
You said
just look for my bubble to make little gray things around it.
Yes, one of the cameras was pointed right at the red shed where Amy was found, the shed with a 1 on it.
Okay. And the other one was pointed where?
The other one was pointed, there's a semi in the yard. You can see that right there. The coverage, the video covered those 3 grain bins right in between where number 12 is on the picture. And it covered a view of the yard. You could see the shop. I actually viewed a feed truck filling them grain bins. So those grain bins are actually to the south where that office is in the North Hog building. So anybody, anybody that would come out.
And the camera that would show towards the shed, there was nothing on it.
No, we weren't able to obtain any video from that camera.
And the other direction, September 11th through October 29th.
Yes.
And then there was some after November 10th.
The video resumed recording on November 11th, the day after the homicide, to November 15th. And then we seized the unit on the 16th.
But that's the one that wouldn't show the shed.
It would show the travel path to and from the red shed.
Come on, let's talk about UTC.
That was an important piece of info.
In advance if I butcher some of these terms.
Which part? I'm sorry, I'm tired.
So the video cameras was a huge piece of info that we didn't know previously. They never checked to see whether the information on the video cameras was deleted or just was never recording. And the video camera that pointed at the red shed, they found no video, nothing before the 2 weeks. So it was said that he turned them off 2 weeks prior. So they stopped recording 2 weeks prior, but there was nothing at all from any time period on the one that pointed at the red shed. The only one that had any video was from the one that pointed at the other building, which was the route that he would have taken. But that's important information. They never investigated to see if somebody deleted this or just never recorded it at all. So now we have to believe that he turned it off and planned it at least 2 weeks prior. Frankly, I think it's more probable that Amy was having an affair on the farm with Jerry and knew that there were cameras and turned it off herself. But they never talked about that. Nobody ever brought it up. I think that's important.
So did the camera that recorded nothing, was it also turned back on the 11th?
Yeah, it's not clear. I take from this video that it never came on. That's what I take. But I know for sure it didn't have anything on it going back. Period.
It's weird.
Didn't Todd say that that he had went and checked the cameras or something, and that's why they turned back on the day after the murder? It wasn't like, or somebody had checked the cameras and put it back up on the windowsill?
Yeah, he said his family suggested that he check them. He said it didn't occur to him to check them because he thought whatever happened inside the shed and there would be no sight line on any of the cameras, but then somebody suggested that he did it, so he did. Which makes sense, but they never checked whether it was deleted. That to me was really important.
And they never mentioned like Amy's having an affair with the hog manager. Like, how likely would it be that she wouldn't want that on camera? Like, I mean, that seems very obvious. Like, but like, if you like, that's why it was such a travesty that his lawyer like removed any other options. Is like the jury can't like picture it being anybody else, and that, like, not saying they should have blamed Tristan, but if he's gonna say somebody else could have done it, he should have brought up multiple people that could have done it. You know what I mean? Like, not like fully accuse them, just like given another story or something. I don't know. There's like no defense.
Well, if the lawyer is this ineffective and feckless on the trial itself, imagine how bad they were in the preliminary hearings.
I don't even really know if there was very many. I mean, the crime happened in November of 2018, and he's in trial by September of 2019. Like, that's
sure,
unheard
Judge. Whatever they want, they can have it. Like, what? Just lay down and let them do whatever they want.
Pretty much.
Technology. The exhibit 105, that was the long list of searches and visits that you just got done testifying about.
Oh, Dan, you're going to love this.
Where did those searches, what device did those searches come from?
iPad.
All of them?
All of them, yes.
How do you know that?
Because I sent a search warrant to Google, and the indicator on that search warrant was his Todd Mullis 76 at gmail.com. That is the indicator for that device, the account on that device. So when you receive the results back, you can see in the list of searches that's consistent with the search history, because the device physically had organs of the body on it. The records that I received, organs of the body, is in the material. That's the only email account associated with that iPad. That's how I know that those searches are from that iPad, because you have to enter an indicator, if you would say that, of that Google account. That makes sense.
He's nervous. He's not right. He doesn't even know what
Did you also conduct what's known as a Cellebrite exam of the iPad?
It's funny sometimes.
And tell the jury, please, what a Cellebrite exam is.
So a Cellebrite exam is, I take the physical unit and I hook it to a machine, and it extracts all of the physical data that's on the machine to like an external device, so I can.
This guy should not be allowed to do anything with electronics. Let me just say that.
Still stored on the machine, like contacts.
We see that a lot, don't we?
Phone calls, text messages.
We really do.
Even deleted material.
Not always.
Bunch of boomers playing with tech.
Have you made a comparison between the Celebrite, and I think the term that a lot of people use is the Celebrite dump, where it sucks all that information out of the device? Have you made a comparison between the Celebrite dump on Todd's iPad and 105 to see if they're the same?
No, great question.
I don't know if I physically did that or not.
Should have.
And if there's all these searches are not on that Celebrite dump, what would that tell us?
These are the Google searches from the iPad. The ones I obtained from Google with the authentication letter. These are the searches from the iPad.
Isn't it possible for someone to log in to someone's Todd Mullis 76 at gmail.com from another device?
Yes.
Yes, you can log into an email any device. Sure. Yes.
For instance, if my assistant down here, we each have a laptop in our office, and she came in and logged in, it would look like I was making a search, right?
I don't know if that would track your Google history. I think your Google history is machine specific.
Oh.
But if you log in.
Okay. He just said that he got all of this based off of the Google, off of Todd's Gmail.
I only look at
that's how he
things
knows
that
that
benefit
they were
what
all
I
from
think
that.
it is.
And now he's saying that it's
He just literally
Oh
doesn't
my
know. Like
gosh.
he just is like he literally doesn't know.
Yeah.
that it's device specific, but he just said where he got it from. And then the defense attorney asked him a great question and it's like, hey, did you compare it to the Celebrite report from the iPad? And he's like, no. Well, if it's device specific, why wouldn't you be using it from the Celebrite report? He doesn't. I'm not a tech person at all.
Wasn't that the point?
Sending
The
all
whole
my
point is
emails from
the whole point
No,
is
but
that
there's a
Jake is
bad
not an
lawyer
expert.
that doesn't hammer this shit.
Jake's not the
Did they
expert.
qualify him as an expert though?
No, I don't think you have to do that in
No, they don't do
Iowa.
that in
Oh my God!
Let me see if
You don't have to voir dire him as an expert. Wow.
I think
That
they can
sucks. They
voir
need to
dire,
fix
but
that.
they don't have to like present them as an expert or something.
They
Yeah, I
shouldn't
don't
be
think in
allowed to
Iowa. I
talk.
don't think you have to. I don't think they have any type of Daubert standard at all.
Neither does
Oh man, that's why I don't
neither
live in
does
Iowa.
Indiana. Neither does Indiana.
Yeah,
See,
no,
but
I don't live in
Jake
Indiana,
knew it.
bro.
Jake knew he was wrong. He knew that he didn't know the UTC. He knew that you could make searches on the other device. But instead of hiring an expert to come in so that the jury could understand that an expert is saying this, he left it to Todd's attorney saying one thing and the officer saying another thing.
Yeah.
And who are they going to believe? That's not the way
Or at
you
least
do it. You bring in
you
an
couldn't
expert
afford
to
the expert.
corroborate your position.
Yeah,
If you couldn't,
totally.
if you couldn't afford the expert, you talk to some 14-year-old that has a Google account. And you ask him how you should proceed
Yeah.
with questioning. What is this?
It's almost
I mean, we need to
Teresa's
get him
favorite
to
part.
Right.
get
That's
to
just
his
your
part
email.
where he, like, make sure that he
That
tells
Google
them
offers
wrong.
a service, which is email. You can
They're
have
almost there.
email. But as far as logging into somebody else's device and then showing that search history on that device, I don't believe that's possible.
Well, if I understand your testimony, or what you're telling the jury here today is that all these searches were made by Todd Mullis off that iPad.
Yes.
And all of these you believe
know that.
either relate to combines and farming or to these suspicious searches about ancient history of cheating people and stuff like that.
Yes.
Okay. Moment, Your Honor.
You just gonna let it go there?
I'm just there. I was like, I logged into my Gmail on my work computer. All my Google searches for my phone showed up.
Oh.
Past me is really rude
kinda
and interrupt a
douche
lot. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I am. I would have been banging my head on the table watching this trial live.
Somebody needs to ask. So, what are your qualifications here? What type of training have you actually gone through? Because you sound like an idiot.
I'll also say I'm no tech expert, but since I've been getting in YouTube and stuff, I figured out quite a bit about this stuff. I even found out from the Karen Reed thing that if you have an iPhone, you can change where and when pictures were taken. I
He's
learned
about
that
to lose it
from
right here.
Karen Reed's trial. Which
I'm going
one?
to go through 105 and pick out a few searches or visits, and I would ask the state to please pull up.
He's
I'm
gonna have that
looking
stuff
at
ready. He's like
July
asking the
19th,
state to use their stuff.
2018, and the time shown is
He admits that he has no idea about the fact. He has no idea how to use PowerPoint or anything like that. So he just the state takes care of all the tech for him.
Oh no.
Yes.
on the page at the bottom, July 18th at 2:07. You see that one?
Yes.
Okay, here it
Go up
comes.
from there about 11 lines. What's that search?
Is this July 19th, 2018 at 2:46 a.m.?
Yes.
Search for wedding rings for women.
What's the next one up?
www.rothjewelers.com.
Next one up.
Search for design a wedding ring.
At 2:51:34.
Who's getting married? Who's getting married? Todd getting married? You getting a new wedding ring? Oh wait, no. She's the one who plans on getting married to Jerry.
To Jerry.
Search for design a wedding ring.
The next four on the above that.
Design.kdiamonds.com.
That's probably the best lawyer.
Yeah, this was a good point. This was a really good point right here.
Go up to the top four. Just tell us what those four are.
They look like bridal searches. www.chicboutique.com.
Oh my gosh, she's just seeing them right now. He's never
All
seen
these
them
searches are
before.
being done
Probably.
from Todd Mullis' iPad,
Yes.
and he's searching for wedding dresses and wedding rings.
There are searches that are in relation to his employment,
No,
to his
she's not,
hobbies,
yeah.
his interests, and to
We're
items
not
that he
that.
physically owns. Yes.
I didn't ask you that.
Good job,
You're,
defense
you're
attorney.
telling the jury that Mr. Mullis is looking for wedding rings and designing diamonds and going to wedding boutiques.
Let him
He
get
could be
his
shopping for
freak
something
on,
of
all right?
that such.
Or somebody else could be doing these searches, right?
It's possible, but not probable.
Off a different device.
Probably.
Look at idiot.
Off of a different device? No. These searches are from the iPad.
So if we take a time out here and
Down.
compare
Oh,
the Celebrite
God.
dump, we're going to find every one of these searches on that Celebrite dump.
As I explained before in my
Cell phone
testimony, when
activated.
you click on the Google browser, it's going to give you a short list of search
It's
items.
so dumb.
So 10, 12, 15. And they drop off after a while because the system does not store all those. I performed a search warrant through Google associated with
That he
Todd
performed the
Mullis's
search
email.
warrant.
On
I
the
got a
Google.
return back for all the Google searches that were performed on that machine. Now on
No.
that iPad,
No,
when you
it's
got
not.
in, get into the Google search bar and you click on it, you can see your last 10 to 15 Google searches. I seen organs of the body.
He's
When I
so
received-
confident in his. That's not how it works.
I did a half-ass job,
my
okay?
warrant back from Google. You can see on the 700 pages that I received back, organs
But
of the
I
body is in
did
my
it.
list in my packet I received from Google. I also received
that
a
one was
letter
on the
of
iPad.
authentication from Google.
Did
with
you
them
go through his search history
indicate
on his
Those are the
iPad?
searches from the iPad.
How many pages was the Celebrite dump?
No, sir. Google doesn't have anything to do with the iPad. Google has to do with Google.
Fact.
And he thinks he's so smart. just stop. Just stop.
That went on a flash drive, so I didn't print that out, but it's on an external storage device.
I don't think you answered my question. If we compare the Celebrite dump, which we have right here, with Exhibit 105, they should be the same.
It depends on if the Cellbrite dump, you would say, pulled the internet history. Sometimes Cellbrite dumps don't pull internet history. Like I had stated before, when you manually download a phone or a device using Cellbrite, it pulls contacts, text messages, phone calls.
Stop fucking talking. You're wrong.
Well, he didn't exactly answer. I'm gonna let
I
Crystal ask another
shook
question. You
my
get three
magic
credits.
8
Go ahead.
ball and it said the chances are likely.
Let me check for a few more here. Just a second.
I thought you were You're saying that he pause was it never real gonna quick, be. Vic. I was like, we're going back to Amber
On
Heard. It would be
July
perfect for
15th,
him.
2018. This would be at the
It's
very
longer than
top
I
of
thought it
well,
was.
not, it's one line down from the top of the page.
Nobody can take this guy's testimony seriously. He's an idiot.
Find that?
Yes.
What's that a search for?
Search for Zales.com.
Oh, more wedding.
Sales is a diamond place, isn't it?
Yes.
Hey T, don't copyright
next one
strike
down.
me, okay?
I'm not going to. Can you pause it real
That was
quick?
search for
Yeah.
Copyright
www.pinterest.com.
striking you right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing it. Paul, do you know if Jerry and Christy are still married?
I don't.
Okay,
They
so
they were at the time of the original trial, I know.
When I looked them up, they still are registered to live at the same address, but I don't know. I was wondering if you knew if they were still married.
I would be like 99% sure that they're still married, and whether Amy had passed or not, they would have been married.
Oh, yeah, he wasn't gonna leave. He wasn't leaving his wife for her. He wasn't leaving his wife for her. That's just silly. Okay, so I think they're still married, but I didn't know. I was hoping you might know. Okay.
No. One of the local people in the Facebook group, I'll bet, would know.
Okay, I'll ask him there. All right, keep going with Hemisath or whatever his name is.
I have to ask my wife. I don't use Pinterest, I guess.
Okay. But you're saying Mr. Mullis did off his iPad.
Why wouldn't you use it? It's just a girl thing? Is it a girl thing? Oh, wait, no, it's Todd must have done it on his iPad. He's no trooper Paul, but he's a dummy. He's close. They might be
Todd knows what Pinterest is, I'm sure.
The records show that
You've got a whole farming Pinterest going on. All types of farm equipment. And
then you talked about...
Well, you testified that if the search is done on the iPad and the iPad is Todd's, then Todd did the search. That was your testimony, sir.
Some there, below there about swimming and floating and so forth. Below that, July 9th, 1750-54.
Good job, Amy Lou. Yeah. Maybe they should have him do that. They need a demonstrative. He needs to just do it.
This was a search for Lady Antebellum. We owned the night.
Oh, Todd likes Lady Antebellum.
Right?
Country, yes.
It's Lady A now.
Down is Carrie Underwood.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, Carrie Underwood. Get it, Todd.
Yes. Also a country artist.
No, it's not directly from the iPad. It's from the Google warrant. Yes, and he's making it sound like I know. It's so I looked for jury interviews, and I couldn't find any juror interviews for this case. I don't remember ever seeing one, and so I looked to see if there was any that popped up. I looked at on Google, but I was logged in under Todd Mullis.
Any of the investigation as to Amy Mullis's travels during the summer of 2018?
I'd have to look back to compare dates.
Do you know if Mr. Mullis ever went to the American Inn in Newton, Iowa?
I do not know that.
The dumb thing here too is they actually have the warrants. They took all there and go through and say, okay, playing country songs and wearing sweatpants, you're going to prison.
You think Todd was power listening to I dug my keys into the side of his pretty little souped up
one of these
four-wheel
that
drive?
you testified about going back to January 21st of 18 at 3:35.
Did it all for the nip.
What was the date again?
January 21 at 3:35:24.
Yeah, Jen, I see you. I asked your question.
What's that one?
This is a search for how to do a DNA test without the father knowing.
Oh, clearly that's Todd.
Fishy, do you have auto moderate on your thing in your studio set up?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Is it possible
that
someone
might
else
be what it is?
It's possible, but it's not probable.
Not probable.
That's the silliest
As far
thing.
as I know, I'm the only one moderating, and I haven't had to
Oh,
delete
wait.
anything.
on this printout?
Dan, shut up. It's
If the
What?
internet, what's UTC mean?
Oh, here it
I
is.
want to talk to you about some of the times that you've given. What's UTC mean on this printout?
Central Standard Time.
If the internet
Oh,
tells
no.
you you're wrong, would you disagree?
He said it so fast too. He was so proud of himself. He's like, I know this one, teach.
On this
I
printout.
know this
I want to
one.
talk to you about some
I
of the
believe
times
that's
you have to listen
CST.
afterwards because that's when he says,
on
"Does
this
the
printout.
internet ever
Central
told
Standard
you
Time.
you're wrong?"
If the internet tells you you're wrong, would you disagree?
Can you ask that again? I guess I've never had the internet tell me I'm wrong. Say it again.
He's so fucking smart right there too.
I want to talk to you about some of the times.
Yeah, I would have loved doing that.
UTC
Like,
mean
what if I
on
told
this
you
printout?
Central Standard
CST
Time.
is Central Standard
If
Time?
the internet tells you you're
He's
wrong,
like, yeah, I don't think so. I think it's UTC.
Can you ask that again? I guess I've never had the internet tell me I'm wrong.
Just take your phone out as the lawyer and look at what time it is at UTC where they're at right now. Just show it to
So bad.
show it to the jury.
All right.
Wow.
Hold on. I'm gonna rewind that.
Wow.
It's so good I had to hear it twice.
Good thing that guy's not a storm chaser. He'd be 3 hours late.
You were laughing so hard, T, and I was like, it was funny, but like also at the same time, it's Todd is in prison. Like,
that's true.
Like his babies, his oldest was 13. Now Tristan's 18. Like, how did his kids get to trial too? That was crazy to see them there. I was surprised at that. You know.
Well, I don't think that do the younger two still live with her mom?
At the post-conviction trial hearing, they were all three of them were there, right, Paul?
I know.
Yeah.
Do they still live with her mom?
I have no idea.
I don't think Tristan does. I don't know about the other two. They may, because they're underage, they may still be there.
That's unfortunate.
But I mean, they had to have been they were at the trial, so maybe they're like allowed to stay at their grandparents or something. I don't know.
Yeah, one thing we know from this from this testimony is that they never referenced any of the emails or texts from Amy to see, because like if you listen to PK, her friend PK's testimony, they talked about when they were on a trip to Florida getting an Ohana tattoo, and they never cross-referenced that with the text to say, you know, hey, here's Amy talking about getting a Ohana tattoo, and here's a search for Ohana tattoo. For all we know, that search was made on Amy's phone while she was down in Florida, and there's corroborating evidence on the text messages that they were talking about Ohana tattoos at that very moment. They could have done the same thing with any of these searches. Was she texting any of her friends about wedding rings to corroborate that she was the one that made those searches? They just didn't do any work.
Well, I feel like
prove what it
they
was.
had all the devices, so they could have downloaded. They could have done a Celebrite dump on literally all of the devices.
I think they did.
Well, then it should be an evidence that shows what device actually made the search.
Yeah.
That even if it's signed into Todd's Google, what device made the search?
Yeah, I agree.
You can cross-reference all of that. It'd be a little time-consuming, but you could easily do it and be like, no, this one's made from this laptop. This one's made from this. They just don't bother to do any of it. And like this guy's like, no, they're all from the iPad. Well, did you cross-reference them? Well, no. Why would I do that? I performed a Google warrant, and this is what came back. And it's like, why wouldn't you want to figure out exactly what device it came from? And if you only think it came from the iPad, why wouldn't you be using the Celebrite dump versus the results from the Google warrant?
Yeah, there's a part of me that thinks that it probably was not done on other devices, because I think that would have come up in his PCR trial, because that would be a very obviously strong piece of information to learn. If they had actual evidence that some of these searches were done from her phone, but maybe they did, maybe I missed it, maybe they didn't think it was worthy of fitting into the 6 days that they had to squeeze it all into. But I would think if they had some of those searches on another device, they would have brought it up this past week.
Okay, so there was a couple parts of the trial that I found especially egregious, and one of the
fact that there's a trial is egregious, in my opinion.
That's yeah, for sure. I think, but the toenail, or not toenail.
That's a keeper. That's a keeper.
Okay. Did anyone else's sound go totally wonky? That was crazy. I was like, what is happening? Teresa just went gremlin on us.
It was Dan. It was Dan's chuckle.
Oh.
Was it the toenail?
Oh my gosh, Dan, what is happening?
Is it still doing it?
Yeah.
It's this freaking internet jumping back and forth.
He totally sounds like a gremlin. But one was when the investigator, he talks about like not checking the under the fingernails when he clearly says that Jerry initially should have been a suspect if it was a murder, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like they didn't, I don't know. They only saw the one thing and that's all they saw the whole time. You know?
So is it true that Jerry's interview, because it took place in the car, is there no recording of Jerry's interview?
No, I don't think that there is.
Not that
I'm
they
under the
presented.
impression there's nothing.
But not even from like the court files?
Not that I've ever heard about. I know there was a deposition, but I never saw a video or heard about a video.
I'm not, just that initial interview that he does like on the 4th or whatever it was, which is also interesting that he already knows about this affair. He says, I knew about the affair right away. Like, who told him about the affair right away? Turbot. Turbot testified, I knew about the affair right away, so I started to look into Jerry.
Yeah, her friend Terry Stainer
She was telling everybody.
Terry did, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Turbot probably knew before Amy was even dead, to be honest.
Yeah, everybody knew.
Everybody but Todd knew.
Amy was like, did you hear this? They're like, from you, dude.
Yeah, you told me that last week, fool.
Yeah, I had 2 takeaways from this week that I thought were like the most egregious, or the PCR that I thought were the most egregious. One was Hemiseth admitting that he read roughly 3 paragraphs of the PCR and didn't bother to read any of it outside of that. I don't remember how long the PCR is, but it's a long document with a lot of testimony, a lot of depositions. And he was so concerned about making sure he got it right and being open-minded, which is what he testified to last week, that he didn't even read what they brought up as all this new evidence that maybe they put an innocent man in jail. He was so concerned about it that he didn't even read it. I thought that was amazing. And then Kelly Cruz, when they brought her the evidence and said, we'd like to have a conversation with you. We found, a bunch of new evidence. We want you to have a look at it. Refused to even talk to them. And within 24 hours said, I'm not going to pay attention to this new evidence. Whatever it is, I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to respond to it. I'm not going to have a conversation with you. I'm not open to learning that there was maybe new information. That was the most troubling thing I saw, was they really just didn't care whether they got it right or wrong.
No, and to your point there too, Mr. Comeover, I believe, says, she doesn't work for the state. They're not state elite. She's not state aligned. She's, independent, and she takes all the information and makes her decisions, and she doesn't work for either side per se.
Yeah.
And then they came back out, or his attorneys, Todd's attorneys, came back out, and they were like, who did you ask for advice? And she's like, the attorney general. And he's like, wait a minute, is that your attorney? Like, why would you be getting advice from them if you don't work for them? And why would they be telling you not to talk to the other side?
Yeah.
Dude, his attorneys this time, like, really, really, like, I was very impressed by, especially that one chick that did like the most of it.
Thompson?
Yeah, Tara.
Like,
Tara Thompson?
They kicked butt. Like, and it's like, it's so weird because like all girls and then all boys. I'm like, what is this, like, girls against boys? But you could tell that like they talk to each other and they work well together, and it's just like so different than the Delphi case. It's kind of like crazy. The judge is like helpful to both sides and stuff. It's like it shows like how trials should be, kind of.
What was your read on the judge?
She's so hard to read. She seemed like she was trying to get the information in. I think she listened to the experts and was like, definitely gave them reverence. Is that the right word? Like, she considered their opinions. But I mean, I have no idea, really.
I didn't get a feeling one way or the other. She was hard on both sides at times, I felt. She made a couple comments though about like to Todd's team, like, wrap this up. Like, I don't want to be here forever. And I kind of was like, wait a minute. Like, once again, it's another person who has the power to make sure that the person behind bars is actually guilty of the crime. And she's trying to make them go faster.
I think she was saying that though, because it's like she also has a bunch of like depositions and stuff that I I think you could tell she had read into the case and like knew, like she knew the case well. In my opinion, I thought she did. And she said that they seemed like they were like presenting it for a jury trial, and she's like, "You don't need to do that. Like I'm right here, you know." And so I think maybe
is this group of attorneys, this group of women, is this from the Innocence Project, or is it? It is okay.
No, except for Dina.
It's this place. The Nedgewalt Law Group, she out of New York, is that correct?
No, that's just Dina. So she was the lead attorney. She only spoke, I think she only questioned one witness, which was the Farm Bureau, the farm insurance guy. She's the only one that's not with the Innocence Project. Everybody else is part of the Innocence Project.
This is
and
her.
Why did she join the team then?
She was the original attorney. She's the one that put the team together. I mean, none of this would have happened without her.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes more sense then.
She's been working on this since, I don't know if you ever watched the original 48 Hours on this trial.
Oh, she's the chick. Oh my gosh, she is a chick.
She and her brother, I think it was her brother. Yeah, they have that law firm, and that's I think when she got interested. So she's been working for the last 5 years. I mean, she is the whole reason that he's at trial.
Dude, that's her right there, right?
Yeah.
How did she get involved?
48 Hours like did this show where they had like defense and prosecution to argue like each side, kind of like a little, like that's how they did the show. It's like that was their premise, and she was like one of the defense lawyers, right?
Yeah.
And then she just got like attached to the case and was like, wait a minute, like
I don't remember if Todd's family reached out to her because they thought she looked really good, like she really cared about the case and was interested. I don't remember how it worked, or if she felt compelled by it. I don't remember how that happened. But she's the brains behind putting all this together, all the evidence they gathered, and then she just needed, help, I think, in getting. There's a lot of information to put into 6 days. I mean, if you do 5 years of research, you got to figure out how to present it all, memorize all your testimony, your questions. There's just no way you can do that alone.
Oh, no. I agree with you.
I think they could have got a new trial with just the pathologist and the biomechanic. Or those were like the strongest witnesses to me, and their strongest point of just like it was an accident. Like,
the strongest point about it was that the state didn't counter it at all. They didn't bring anybody to say this isn't right.
Yeah.
Do we have the PCR that was filed?
It's I posted it years ago.
Last year. Yeah, I remember that. I think I downloaded it from you, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot.
I'm sorry. I did have stuff prepared, but like our conversation didn't really go that way. So I feel like I should prepare better for these. But then it kind of like
saying what we want
hard
anyway.
to know what people are going to talk about, and I like the flow, but I don't know.
Yeah, there were a couple of good points I heard. I mean, people are still coming up with what I think are interesting things even now. But so like this week, people were talking about the boots that Todd had to be wearing at the time, which I thought was a good piece of information. The weight of those boots, how hard it is to run in those boots that he would have been wearing at the time that he was in the hog barn. And another one, somebody brought up that Tristan had testified that his dad had a bad back.
Yep.
You put the boots, the bad back, the fact that Todd was probably 280, 300 pounds at the time this happened. Now you throw that into the mix that he's got to run 200 yards to get to the other shed and back within enough time for him to take a drink or not be noticed. I thought that was an interesting new piece of information.
That's true.
Well, and just that he had to be right on her heels in order to be able to catch her in the barn, because he gave her such a menial job that it literally would just take her, like she would be done like that. Like she would just get the pet carrier, put it right there, and go in the house. So he wouldn't be like waiting for Tristan to lose sight of him. He would have to just immediately follow her out of the door.
Right. You'd have to take off right away. You'd have to pray that the kids in the house didn't come out. You have to assume that he would do that and leave somebody who wasn't dead to maybe crawl somewhere and tell somebody that he did it. I mean, there were.
But he wouldn't come back covered in blood, like.
Yeah, right.
Out of
Not a
breath.
scratch on him. Not a scratch. They got a broken handle on a rake. Not a scratch on the man.
Well, the other thing is too is if you're whacking somebody with a corn rake, where's the blood spatter?
I don't know that there would be any
That's
because she
one
had
thing
so
I
much
asked.
clothing on. You know, she had 3 layers of clothing.
3 layers of clothes on.
Well, transfer. I mean, if she pulled the rake out, if you pulled the rake out and swung it again, you'd have some
Yeah.
sort of blood transfer.
Yeah, you'd have it from the rake coming out and going back in, which is according to them happened every time.
I want to know how Kelly Cruz, if you're watching this, but you're not, but I'm gonna write you an email. I think. How did she say that he swung it if they didn't go out of the jacket? Like clearly it didn't go out of the jacket. That's like.
Did she look at the clothes?
She said she did. And she took pictures of them, and she took pictures of 4 holes, and then decided at trial that there had to be more. So they were very loosey-goosey with the holes this week in the PCR trial. I don't know if you really paid attention to that, but everybody
I
was
only watched
really.
the first 2 days because then me and my channel decided we were going to watch the whole thing together. So I stopped watching it so that I could do blind reactions with them next week.
It's
so we're
so
going to
good.
watch. We're starting then. I watched, like I said, I watched the first 2 days, so that's all I know. And then anything after that, I haven't watched. So we're going to do all next week. We're going to watch the PCR.
Yeah. So yeah, Hemeseth started out saying there were 6 holes. Then he said there were 5 holes during the PCR. Kelly Cruz took pictures showing that there were 4 holes, but all of a sudden now we're stuck on 5 holes, which I don't really believe. I think there were 4 holes.
But it doesn't matter. She had 6 holes in her body.
Yeah, even at 5, it's a game changer. They should have immediately stopped everything they were doing when they heard there were 5 holes and said, "How the heck are there 5 holes in the coat and 6 in her back? How could that possibly be?"
Nobody asked that question even in the
I
PCR.
did think it was funny.
No.
Jesus.
Say off air, Paradox and Fishy and I were going through like what would a biomechanical expert need to testify for me to like agree with them. And we went through, before we watched it, we went through and talked about the math behind a lot of it. And then she went and outlined every point that we hit before we watched it. So that
really?
Yeah. And both
I thought
of
it
us
was
have an
super annoying
engineering
because I'm like,
background.
just watch the freaking expert. We don't have to go through all this, but they had to do their little thought exercise.
Yeah.
Did you
Well,
read
have
Todd's
to,
notes?
so you're not biased when you go and listen to it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this is what I would require. And then, boom, every point. It was phenomenal.
Did you guys read Todd's notes from the trial, his prison letter, where he talked about what he thought happened?
No.
Yeah, I mean, he called
We haven't?
virtually everything. He said that wounds A and B, the tines never came out, and that he wanted him to check on that. I mean, he knew what happened. They just didn't listen to him.
Do they show him at the PCR?
Yeah.
Okay.
The demonstrative image that they show of the body, like the simulated body on the rake, makes way more sense than any other. Like, while we were watching it, we told Fishy, like, yeah, that's exactly, and the exact way it was laying with her butt over the rake and the rake down, I was like, that's exactly how I said it would make sense, because she can't get off of it, she's pinned to it, and it's like her butt would be the fulcrum of it, and it would hold it down. That's exactly how they show it.
Honestly, it's really like a horrific death, and like you could tell that she like wanted to live and fought for it, and like that's sad.
Yeah. Somebody likes the SHD.
Yeah.
But I think that's max time for a live for me. I can't do any longer. But I like talking about this case. I think more people should know about it so that like I don't know if we should like do a like letter writing campaign before the judge makes her decision or something, like, because this is like his last chance pretty much as far as I know. This is like it. This is it.
That was my question: is what happens now if she denies him? What's the next legal step? Do we know?
Is there one? Donald Trump.
Probably done.
Donald Trump, yeah. Donald Trump and Kim Kardashian. So
no, Donald Trump can't do anything. That's be the governor.
Trump has enough influence that he could potentially get people in government in the state of Iowa to do the right thing. But that would probably be if
Right
it
to the
doesn't go
governor.
through.
Yep.
Yeah, I assume
That
he's
would be
got
your
enough
best.
influence to make something happen.
Okay, so I have one
I
more
mean,
question before you
sure.
wrap this up, Fishy. Do we know what her procedure actually was? Outside of testimony, do we actually know from somebody in this case what procedure she actually had?
An
A
ablation.
DNC, right? Wasn't it?
An ablation.
And not an abort. Yeah. Basically, if you like, we grokked that.
Gary said she had
So
an ablation.
if
Todd
a
says she
woman
had
has heavy periods or endometriosis, they go in and cauterize a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, but they're two different things, and we were told two different procedures at trial. One was an ablation, one was a DNC. Those are not the same thing.
Yeah, as far
I
as I
think
know,
a
she had an
DNC
ablation.
involves the ablation.
No,
No?
pat them. They don't.
Oh. I thought DNC had a cautery element to it.
It probably does, but it's not an
Basically
ablation.
go in and scrape the lining off of the uterus. Is that the DNC?
Yeah.
Well, DNC you can have if you're having an abortion, right?
Yeah.
All the above.
Yep. After
Abortion,
miscarriage.
endometriosis, miscarriage.
So, but
Or
Paul said
just
it was an ablation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Todd just said the wrong thing.
I don't remember Todd saying it. I remember Terry saying it, but yes.
Todd said DNC.
I'm 99% sure this had nothing to do with an abortion.
99%?
99.
So you're saying there's a chance, Paul.
There's always a chance.
You're saying there's a chance. All right. Well, I have another question. I'm sorry, Fish.
No, go for it.
Do we know how many more affairs there were?
Probably not.
And did Todd ever have any of the kids' DNA tested?
Don't know. I doubt it.
To either one, or?
So I know she had multiple affairs, but
I know that, Paul. I need to know if there's more than the two.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Hot diggity damn. Was one of them right after or around the time that she was having Wyatt?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, because that's when the brother testifies saying that when she had Wyatt, she was telling him how unhappy she was and she was considering leaving at that time. And I've always wondered, did she actually have an affair around then? Because he would have been 8 at the time of her death, but we know that Keith was 5 years prior, and then obviously Jerry was during.
Man, I hope Wyatt's his, because I mean, Todd seems like he was a pretty good dad. Like, he spent a lot of time, like, yeah, they had to do like farm chores and stuff, but I don't know. I think Amy was like,
I think Amy just thought Todd was boring. He was boring. He worked on the farm all day, came back, was tired. He had a stay-at-home woman at that point in time, wanted dinner on the table. You know, they'd been married for many years by then. I think it was very common, but I just think that she just was, she liked the county fair a little too much.
I mean, boring's cool. Like, the older I get, the more I'm like,
boring.
That's hot. Like, he's a hard worker. He like,
well, if you get
takes care
together,
of his
you get
family,
together
his kids,
young.
you know?
Yeah, I think people take the sort of Amy bashing thing the wrong way. I think at least for me, the way I look at her indiscretions has to do with how the evidence is interpreted in the trial. The believability of her texts and conversations with her friends, armed with the knowledge that she was having affairs, and how believable is it that she really thought her life was in grave, imminent danger if she's out doing all this stuff.
Does
Not
Todd
that,
have
not that
any
we're
history?
passing judgment on her
Does
doing
Todd have
it.
any history of hitting anybody or threatening anybody or anything like that? Didn't he just go to counseling? Like, that's literally what
Some people do this as a setup for a strong argument during divorce proceedings. Like, they'll hedge their bets. You saw that in the Amber Heard trial.
Oh, yeah.
Exact same thing.
I feel like she just wanted her friends to not judge her for having an affair on this really good guy. who was providing for her and providing for her family. So she, was like, I can only shop at the secondhand stores and I don't get to buy anything fancy. And yet he buys her a Jeep and hands her $1,500. And I wish my husband would hand me $1,500 in cash and say, go do whatever you want. So I think that she really wanted her friends to not like Todd, so they didn't judge her for sleeping around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, we really didn't hear in either time them talk about something I was really interested in hearing was, what was his previous history? Did he have any history with the law? Was he getting in fights? So Tom Krogman, the guy who looked like Santa Claus, is the guy who rode with Todd on the way to the hospital that they never brought to testify in the original trial, which is amazing. But he testified he never heard of him being in a fight or saw him in a fight. I don't think he had any record. Terry Stainer commented in the first trial that the only hostility or aggression she ever saw with them was that Amy said one night they had rough sex. That was all she could come up with.
We were like, hey, they were watching Pornhub together.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're trying new things.
Yeah, maybe
there ain't nothing wrong with that. Get it, girl.
Yeah, but I wish that they had talked about that a little more. It would have been good for the jury to hear.
Problem is,
he didn't have any history.
You can't bring in like past indiscretions. If he did have any history, they wouldn't have been able to bring it in anyway. It would have been 404.
It's not like his lawyer would have objected.
That's true.
Yeah.
They probably could have just brought whatever the hell they wanted. That's true. Good point. Good point.
No, but yeah, it didn't come across as there was any like tangible times that Todd even like got like loud with any of them or anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you see how like bashful he was when he was on the stand and he was talking about how they were looking at porn? And he was like so embarrassed to have to like talk about that publicly.
Yeah. This is why I want the behavioral panel, those guys, to look at the testimony. I want to see what they see. As experts.
Yeah, everybody
language.
go to the behavioral panel and tell them, go over Todd Mullis's interview or interrogation. Is it interrogation?
We don't care about the interrogation. I care more about the testimony.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to see anything on the interview anyway, the interrogation. Yeah, I want to see what they thought of his testimony.
And if you guys have FOIA requested all the discovery and all the exhibits and everything, right?
I haven't.
I just emailed the court today, but I didn't FOIA request nothing. Do it, T. Do it. Get it.
That's what I was wondering if anybody had. If anybody, somebody already
have to FOIA, if it's not sealed, then
Ooh,
I just send it
Dan.
to you.
That's tough, Dan.
Yeah.
Did you boot him?
No,
All right.
he booted himself. He booted himself. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm so glad that you asked me to come up. And Paul, it's such a pleasure to be able to talk to you.
Yeah, good to meet you.
He's
I've
great,
seen you
huh?
in groups for years. So it's nice to actually be able to have a conversation with you.
We got to get you guys on video so I don't feel all alone over here.
Oh man, I don't want to get ready.
It's dark here. I have no lights on. Hey, Dan's on video, driving, chugging along over there.
Chugging.
Yeah, I'm not
All
legally
right.
allowed to have the video on once I pull in here.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
I'm
we're
gonna-
done anyways.
You can wrap it up, but thank you guys so much for having me. This case has just stuck with me for so many years that I'm like, I'm ecstatic. I wish I had paid more attention to when the date was of his PCR so that I could have planned better, and I just didn't. I don't know. I don't know why I didn't. I just didn't, and now I'm kicking myself for it. I mean, I waited forever for it, and now here it is. And
Well, you have time before didn't you just be waiting for the result anyways, which is like
that's true. That's true.
excruciating.
So, and last we knew, both sides' briefs are due by April 8th, and then she's going to make a decision. Do we know how long she has to make that decision?
I think a few months.
Great.
But my
Hopefully
guess
she-
is it'll be pretty quick.
Yeah, I
I
think
hope
she's
so.
gonna do it.
Do you think that she's going to give him a new trial?
I can't imagine anybody watched this week and thought he doesn't deserve a new trial. But it's so corrupt, it's so rigged. She's got a lot of people in her ear at the state telling her not to do that. I'm sure. that they do not want that trial.
And this case doesn't have as much media attention as like other cases, you know, like it has some, but like we need to put the pressure on that we want him to have a new trial.
I feel like it's better now because Court TV actually played the PCR versus the trial. They only put it on their website. They clipped it and threw it up on YouTube. But for us, and like I was telling like people who follow Delphi, you know, this is a huge case to pay attention to because this is exactly what people in Delphi are asking to happen. And if you know, this is like good shows you a timeline, shows you what's necessary, and then you can see the outcome of it, and you know what your chances of it are. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
that's why I think the behavioral panel would be really good because it's topical. There was no verdict yet. They can sort of chime in before that happens. I think it'd be a perfect case for them.
Yeah.
All right, I'll submit it to them too. I'm on it, and then I'll see if I can get any.
Girl.
I'll look and see whatever kind of FOIA I can do, whatever they allow. I think this is like the only case out of Iowa I've ever actually followed. So I don't know
There's a whole bunch of stuff we don't know. I mean, there was something like 20 witnesses that we didn't even get to see that just got depositions submitted to the judge. So there's a lot of stuff that we don't know.
For the PCR or for the trial?
For the PCR.
The depositions aren't in the PCR that was filed?
So there were a bunch of witnesses that we did not get to see because they weren't being interviewed. They just took deposition that's being submitted to the judge with the PCR.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay, well, we probably can't get any of that then until after she makes her decision. Then it would be public record, but I don't know if they'd give it to us now.
Unless they filed it like publicly.
No, because Paul posted all the stuff they filed publicly.
Oh.
And it was a crap ton. I started downloading it on my phone, and I was like, "Oh, I got to stop that. That's going to be a disaster. I got to go to my computer." So I'll see what they say. I mean, I'll ask. I'll find somebody and ask for it.
Okay.
They can always tell me no.
Thank you, T. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Paul. I really enjoy talking to all of you guys. Yeah. That's it.
It's good talking to you.
We'll do it again.
Okay.
Yeah.